Hey me run, hey me run, run! But it's interpretive dance telling the story of Macbeth over 5 floors of a warehouse in the dark. It was one of the worst nights of my life. Why was I doing so much cardio at the theatre? I'm telling you, it should be called Walk No More, because by the end I couldn't. But that's how desperate I was to have a good experience here. Hi friends, how are you? I hope that you're very, very well. I am back with a second video. Woohoo! Very quickly, thank you so much for everybody who was very kind on my last video in the comments and everything. Everyone was so welcoming and it actually meant a huge amount to me. So thank you so much. Okay, so in a previous video, when I went to New York, I was like, I saw a show that I thought was so bad that it's actually like humorous how bad it was, in my opinion. And I want to talk about it. I would say this is the worst show I ever saw, but to be honest, I should probably say this is the worst show I ever experienced. Because trust me, this was an experience. It was basically 3 hours in a warehouse in Manhattan, just running. I did a lot of running that night. Honestly, when I came back home, I felt like I could tell people that I had run the New York Marathon because of how much running I did in that warehouse. I'm not built for that. So this is all about the show Sleep No More at the McKittrick Hotel by Punch Drunk. I'd heard about it over the years, knew so many people who'd been and said it was the most amazing experience. It's so cool. I love Gossip Girl. They did an episode there. I was like, oh my God. Gossip Girl filming location, and it's a show. I love it. That was not the case, but I went into it very excited. We had press tickets. The face value of our tickets was around $200 each. If we had paid for this, I can't even explain how angry I would have been. I know that makes me look so entitled, but that's just how much I did not enjoy my evening. It felt like a punishment. It felt like I was being punished. So our tickets told us to get to the McKittrick Hotel between 7 and 8 p.m. and we would have a seat in the bar and then we would go and do this show. I'm very bad at describing things, so I'm gonna just look how they explain it. It is a theatrical experience that tells Shakespeare's Scottish tragedy through a darkly cinematic lens. They're definitely telling the truth on darkly, because I couldn't see shit. The story unfolds through an awe-inspiring blend of acrobatic choreography, film noir soundtrack, and countless rooms of densely detailed atmosphere. Guests decide where to go and what to see, ensuring that everyone's journey is unique and every visit is different. My experience was definitely unique, I think, to anything I'd ever experienced and anything I've experienced since. I know people who've been and said like, oh, it's amazing. You just kind of explore and you go into a room and you'll find this actor doing a little scene on their own and it's just you and this actor and it's so cool, and like you open drawers in rooms and you like explore the set and there's clues in the props and things. The attention to detail is amazing and I was really excited. It's all about you get out of it what you put into it, right? And they're all like, curiosity will be rewarded, but it is, like it said, acrobatic choreography. There's a lot of kind of interpretive dance, but it's interpretive dance telling the story of Macbeth over 5 floors of a warehouse in the dark. What hope does anyone have? I don't know. So we go in, we have to hand over our phones and our bags and stuff, and we go up to the bar. It was really loud and it was really busy, and already I was like, this is full on. I'd watched Gossip Girl. I'd seen the bar scene. It wasn't that busy. This was like trying to like squeeze between people to be like, hello, I've got a table. Before you get to the bar, we had to walk down some corridors or whatever, go up some stairs in the pitch black, and I am saying pitch black, like it was dead of night. I was like walking along, like holding onto the walls, walking up these stairs, and I was like, how do people like navigate this place? Like I was just following anybody who was in front of me because I couldn't see anything else. I could see like probably this much in front of me. And the whole time I was thinking, God, this is inaccessible. But the inaccessibility got so much worse than just, I can't see going up some stairs. You get a card and then they call your group and take you into this little room where this lady's like, oh, welcome to the hotel. Basically gives you all the rules. You have to wear a mask. You're not allowed to take it off. You're not allowed to talk. And it's all like, fortune favors the brave, like curiosity will be rewarded. So it's basically like you have to like do a lot of work. I thought, yeah, I'm quite curious. Lucy loves an escape room. I thought we'll be fine. We were not fine. I think it sounds amazing, but when it's spread over 5 floors of a warehouse, it's so easy to miss so much, which is what happened with us. Before we went, people were like, oh, it's really good as a date night if you go and then separate and then come back at the end of the night and be like, I saw this. Well, I saw this. Oh my God, if I hadn't have done this with Lucy, I think I would have given up after a while and just gone and sat in the bar and waited for her. Thank God I had her. We just held hands like the whole time. Okay, so the lady who gave us our talk, she then pulls back a curtain and she's like, welcome in. So as we like go through the door, it's all stairs. There's a group of probably like 20, 30 people just running on the stairs. So we're like, okay, let's go baby, fire the gun, we're running. So we're running up, I would say, I think like 3 flights of stairs. We ran up a lot of stairs. We were like at the end of this group. So by the time we'd got up the stairs, gone down a corridor, everybody's kind of filtered through a room. We get up there, we can't even see anybody. We had lost everyone. So we had run up a bunch of stairs for no reason. Didn't even see an actor. I don't even know if there was an actor at the front of the group. It's so ridiculous. The fact is like, come on through this curtain, run! And I'll be honest, we had already spent 2 days walking around New York. We were flat out, we were shattered. You want me to run? And there were also like girls there in like evening dresses and heels. And I was like, how are you doing this? How are you gonna navigate this? So the floor that we're on, we then decide, okay, so we'll like go and have a look around. So we're looking around these rooms and we're not really seeing anything. And it's like, yeah, there's very nicely decorated rooms. I mean, they feel a bit like going around an old house or something. There was a mirror and I was like, maybe something will jump out through the mirror. So I go up to the mirror. It was just a mirror. I don't know if something happened later, but it didn't happen when I was there. Obviously you don't have watches. It's hard to say how long things were, but it probably felt like after that first bit of running, we probably walked around for about 20 minutes and we didn't see any actors. At least this is what it felt like. All we saw was other audience members looking lost. And then we went into a room and we finally saw an actor, and it was this lady. She was just wearing a pair of knickers, so no top on, and she was washing herself, but like had eye contact with everybody. She was like, and it was a bit like, okay. So we watched her wash herself for a few minutes. She was tartars to the wind for quite a while. Then she beckoned somebody out of the audience to like pick up a towel and dry her. She gets dry and then bam, she's running and everyone's running with her. And we're like, okay, I guess we're running again. Obviously in that time where she washed herself, she also didn't say anything. It was just silent. I don't know who this lady is. I don't know how she's connected to anything so far. We also never went back to that room because I never found it again. Also, watching the Gossip Girl episode, when they go, they start in a like hotel lobby. I did not see that lobby. I don't know how, because I felt like there were some bits I kept seeing the same bits, and I'm quite good at directions, but maybe I was just going around in circles. I don't know. So yeah, we've got 20, 30 people following topless lady down the stairs and we're just all sprinting after her. We follow it into this like big hall. There's pretty much all the rest of the audience members. So I think, God, we were lucky that we found her, because otherwise this whole next bit would have been happening and we'd have been upstairs on our own somewhere. There's then a stage area and there's a bunch of characters sat at a table, like a big banquet table. Everybody who's in the audience with our masks, we're all just kind of stood around. I would have said there was probably 150 to 200 people in there. It was pretty crammed. They did this kind of sequence thing. I don't want to guess how long it was. It felt quite long. They did a slow motion dinner sequence. I didn't know who anybody was, but I didn't know what anything meant. Do you know what I mean? There was lots of like looks between characters and I kept being like, something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. Nothing big really happened. Like I say, we watched for a few minutes and then they break off. Each of the characters kind of holds the hand of somebody in the audience and takes them off somewhere. Takes them off in all different directions. But do you think they were walking? Of course they weren't. Absolutely everyone was running. They're all just legging it. So we follow this pregnant lady up some stairs. We go into like a living room, I guess. We go into a house and we see them do an interpretive dance that's kind of like about him beating her up. And then at the end of that, you guessed it, ding ding ding,
I was running.
The thing is as well, in the interpretive dance, again, no talking. I've not heard a single person speak yet. I don't know who these people are. I don't know how they're connected to the lady downstairs, because they're not dressed in like Macbethian, in like Shakespearean clothing. I don't know who anybody is. Obviously afterwards you look back and you're like, oh okay, I can figure out who this person is. But at this point I don't know anything. I think a big problem as well is this whole idea of like fortune favours the brave. You have to be the one who's like pushing forward and stuff. But there's too many audience members for that kind of thing to work for everybody. The group we were in when that couple were doing their dance, I would have said there was probably like 40 people. And the problem is that every single person has been told like, you have to really push to get something cool and to see something amazing. So everyone's like trying to push to the front, and it's so annoying. And I'm like, if another person stands on me or elbows me out the way, I'm gonna lose my shit. And obviously you can't say anything. You can't even give them a look like, because you've got this crazy mask on. I think that is a problem, and everybody's like fighting. I can't remember what order we saw all of the different people in, but over the evening we saw a variety of characters. At one point we did see somebody who later on we discovered was Macbeth. We only saw him at the table in this one bit and at the end as well. And so we stumbled into like a cemetery area, and I could see a bunch of people, but I couldn't see, there was like a wall and I couldn't see what was behind the wall, but everyone was watching. So I was like, all right then, fortune favors the brave. So I see this wall and I see that there's like a little like stump next to it. So I'm like, all right then, off I go. So me and Lucy walk over, I stand on the stump. As I like pop my head up to look over this concrete wall, somebody's feet are like by my head. Macbeth's just doing a handstand right next to me. I was like, oh. We watched this man do an interpretive dance on his own. He didn't say anything, and by the end, what do you think our guy was doing? Of course,
he's running, running.
He just scurries off with about 30 people running behind him, and I'm like, it's always this point of me and Lucy being like, do we run? And the problem is that a lot of the doorways are really small. So say you've got Macbeth running, 20, 30 people behind him, everybody also trying to get to the front so that you can have some kind of amazing experience with an actor. There's like a bottleneck. So if you're at the back, you're like trying to squeeze through. By the time you've squeezed through that door, they've done it through another door, and Macbeth's probably up 5 flights. For slow, lazy girls like me, this was not it. We came across a nurse at one point, and there was like a bunch of people in there. People were sat down. I was like, oh nice, a little relaxing moment. Let's all have a sit down. So we sit on the edge of a bathtub and we watch this nurse run a bath. And then after she'd ran the bath, across the room, there was a bed, and she had a bunch of rocks, and she picked up the rocks and laid them on the bed in the shape of a person. And then she pulled the sheet over and tucked the rocks into bed. And what do you think she did next?
She ran.
Bingo, your girl ran. Okay. I don't know what that referenced. I don't know how that connected to anything. I have no understanding. We didn't follow that nurse. We went off. We were in a room and there was like a little shed in the corner. With the masks, you've got the audience members are all wearing the masks. The actors are clearly in costumes. There are also stage crew who are there to, I guess, tell people like, no, this isn't a part of the show, or you're not allowed to touch somebody in that way or whatever. Some of them kind of follow the actors as well. And so we saw this shed and there was nobody else around, but there was one of the stage crew people. So we were like, right, something's gonna happen. There's no other audience members. This is gonna be our moment. We were so excited. So we go up to the shed and we can hear something. So we go up and there's a little peephole like this big, right? So we look through the peephole, we can see there's a nurse in there on a rocking chair, right? So we're like, oh my God, this is what people talk about with Sleep No More. This is the moment. We watched her for what felt like 20 minutes, and in that time she sat in the rocking chair rocking and stood up, and I think she wrote something down from memory. I can't remember exactly what she did, but I think she like wrote something, and then she got back in the chair and was rocking back and forth again. So I was like, is this a loop? Are we being pranked? That was the only scene where we actually like left an actor and didn't have them run away from us. At one point, we walked into a room and there was one guy on his own, wearing kind of a shirt and smart trousers, poring over a desk of all of these files and stuff, like kind of frantically looking. And we were like, oh my God, amazing. This is our Sleep No More moment. This is where we just stumble upon an actor. This is it. We're standing there watching, and then he stands up and turns around. It's somebody with a bloody mask on, isn't it? We were just watching an audience member who's trying to find a clue in the set. Speaking of finding clues in the set, obviously people had said, oh my God, the set's amazing. The attention to detail is fantastic. I do remember going into one like doctor's office and I was like, that's an IKEA Billy bookcase. I know that because I built one last week. So that kind of ruined the illusion for me a bit. But the whole thing of like exploring. So we came across at one point a row of, I think like 3 or 4 individual toilets, and they were kind of like dark and moody and stuff, you know. Lucy was like, oh, you know, come in here. So we went in, didn't close the door, and Lucy washed her hands, and I thought, all right, brave. Obviously, we'd seen that lady run a bath, so we were like, okay, so it is running water, that's a part of the scenes and stuff, you know. I notice on the toilet seat, there's some like paper draped over it, and I was like, oh, what's this? So I'm looking around the toilet, didn't really see anything. I said to Lucy, I took my mask away a little bit, I was like, oh my God, it's so hot. She was like, yeah, no. I said, I've not really seen anything yet. She was like, no, me neither. But then we were like, right, okay, let's go. Puts our masks back down and we're off. Later, when discussing the show, I said to Lucy, God, I thought you were very brave when you were in that toilet washing your hands. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, you just went and like turned on a tap in the set. And she said, Amy, those are just normal toilets. They weren't a part of the show. And somebody's like used toilet paper or whatever was on the seat. Thank God I didn't touch it. I was nosy, but I wasn't that nosy. But that's how desperate I was to have a good experience here. We walked past a guy at one point who only had probably like 5 or 6 people around him, and we were like, great, this is gonna be a good moment. And he was like carrying a big door on his back. This was quite early on in the night. Like I say, I can't remember who we saw in what order. And he was like carrying a door on his back really slowly, and we were like, okay, this looks promising. And he then stood up, put the door in a door frame, and what do you think happened? Ding, 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 yes.
Oh, well, you see, he ran away.
So when we'd been in there a few hours, I was a bit fuming, I can't lie. I was like, I've not seen anything. I don't know what the hell is going on. I've seen somebody put some rocks to bed. I just thought, like, when is this over and when can I finally stop running? Another part, we did have, probably I would have said what felt like about 15-20 minutes of like solid action. I actually had a Sleep No More moment, because fortune does in fact favour the brave. We went into a room and there was this guy there who I think was a detective, doing the most, you know, he's doing his bits, not saying anything, also not dancing. I did sit in his chair at one point and he did tell me to move, but I thought, yeah, you're supposed to like really get in there, you know, you're supposed to get. So I was like, I'm gonna sit down at this table and watch what's happening here. He was like, bitch, move. We watched him for a bit. Of course, he went off running somewhere. Then we moved around a corner and we could hear something. So I like pulled back a curtain and we were then suddenly like, boom, here with an actor. And there was like another room of people all had been watching him doing something. I can't remember. He then started running, but because I was like here to him, this is my chance. I'm gonna channel my inner Usain Bolt. I'm running, baby. So he starts running and I'm like, run, hey me, run, hey me, run. I nearly fell over, but I was like, girl, get a grip. Run, Amy, run. Amy, run. He stops running and I'm right there again. And the group are catching up, you know, around me. I see Lucy just next to me. He like gets my hand and then drags me into this room and closes the door and closes, there were like shutters on the windows as well. So it's just me and this man and a coffin, and then he pulls me into the next room, so it's just me and him. And it turns out that he was a priest, I think. He then took off my mask. I was not concerned what this man was going to do with me in a room on my own without my wife. I hadn't actually mentioned at this point, but inside this place with all the running and all those bodies running, all that cardio, it was so hot. I was sweating. Like, these masks are plastic, like right on your face. So sweat is just boom, dripping down me. I'm more concerned as he takes my mask off that my eyebrows haven't like sweated off my face and are now sitting by my chin. I was like, please don't look at me, put my mask back on. He then got some like ash, you know, like for Ash Wednesday, and did like a cross on my forehead. He put like a little charm on some red string in my hand and like closed my hand around it. And he said something like, stay in the light, my child, or something like that. And then he turned me round and I heard a door close and he was gone. So it was just me in this room. So I was like, guess I'll go find Lucy. I'm terrified at this point that she could be anywhere because she might have just run, you know, 5 floors away. So I go out of that room, back into the room with the coffin, and there's another audience member in there by now, but he's just like looking around. So there's just me and this guy and I'm like, I'm gonna go. I'm walking around a little bit. I managed somehow to bump into the detective again with a big group of people, and who's there? My one and only, the light of my life, Lucy. So I'd managed to get back to Lucy quite quickly. She was like, oh my God, I was so scared when he took you away. We followed this man, the detective, again for a little bit. He did some stuff, he ran away. We went into another room when there was a lady. She put on some lipstick. She didn't run away, but she did go through a hole in the wardrobe. And then we stumbled upon the priest guy again, the one who I'd had my like moment with, and he was taking people downstairs. So we were like, okay, let's go with our guy. So we follow him downstairs and he takes us back to the big hall where the first like big dinner was. Again, all of the cast have kind of congregated and all of the audience are there, and I was like, brill, we're gonna see some action. Are recreating the scene that was from the beginning, all in slow motion. I'll be honest, at this point I was really flagging. I was like, whoo, I want to go home. So I can't remember exactly what happened. Macbeth stood on the table, a trigger warning here. So Macbeth stood on the table, a noose was put around his neck. Then all the lights go out, the few lights that are on, and there's this noise. I couldn't really tell what it was. Afterwards, Lucy had said to me that it was the sound of somebody being hung. But when the lights came back up, Macbeth was just stood in the same spot with his head bowed down. I didn't know that actually we'd had a no-fly show because he was supposed to be like lifted up and supposed to be like swinging. We didn't know that. So we also didn't know that that was like the end. So another guy comes forward and takes somebody's hand in front of me and starts, you guessed it, running up some stairs. So we're running. We're going up these stairs, your girl is huffing and puffing like nobody's business. I'm telling you, it should be called Walk No More because by the end I couldn't. But we're running up these stairs and then we go a little curtain and we're in the bar and it's like, okay, you're done. We were in there for over 3 hours and we didn't see any kind of through line of a story. We didn't see how like anybody was connected. I mean, we watched someone run a bath and put some rocks to bed for a while. We watched someone in a rocking chair for a bit. Afterwards, trying to get out, oh my God, the queue to leave was so long. I was like, please, I just want to leave. I'll actually leave my handbag now. I just want to go home. Yeah, we got like a program. There were so many characters that we didn't see. There were so many rooms that we never got an explanation for, you know, excluding the toilets. Because that was my bed. I do think we were potentially just very unlucky with the route that we had picked, I guess, and how much of it we missed. Because I did look on Reddit and afterwards, so many people were like, oh my God, it's amazing. Can you believe the bit with the witches? And I'm like, I didn't see no witches. Was that lady with no top on at the beginning a witch? I don't know. She wasn't doing any spells. I heard so little talking the whole time as well. Obviously you can't talk. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I do think there should be some kind of explanation or some kind of thing that says like, at this point you should be going here. I don't know. I feel like there should be like multiple versions of each character or something. So, you know, Macbeth can be having his whole show on the 5th floor, but if you're on the 1st floor, you know, and you're like crossing, you're like ships in the night, that's not your fault. And it's a lot of money to spend when it's so uncertain what you're gonna get out of it. I am baffled by people who've been multiple times, and like maybe if you go and you're just really lucky with the experiences that you have, but I felt like I was being punished. Why was I doing so much cardio at the theatre. That's not normal. I'm sure as well there will be some of you on here who've been and are like, oh my god, it was the best experience ever, I had an amazing time. This meant this and this meant this. All power to you, and I'm so glad that you had a good experience. I feel bad, especially when I've been given a complimentary ticket, I feel really bad to like slate the show, but it was just a bad experience for us. Not the fault of the cast. I think the cast were doing a great job. Maybe they could have like jogged instead of like sprinted, but you know, they don't know all of us aren't runners. I do think though, oh my god, what an inaccessible show. I'm surprised it was on for so long, being that inaccessible for people. If you were visually impaired, if you have any kind of physical disability, you're screwed. I even think I probably would have had a better time if it wasn't all just running, because I was so worn out. You're gonna be like, Amy, shut up, you just hated it because you had to run. I shouldn't have to run at the theatre. I shouldn't. And I stand by that. Honestly though, that toilet moment, when Lucy told me that those toilets I'd been exploring had just been normal toilets. They should have a sign or something. Anywho, have you seen Sleep No More? If you haven't, I'm sure this video hasn't sold it to you. People's opinions are so different. Like I say, I've got friends who've been to Sleep No More and say it's amazing, and I say it was one of the worst nights of my life. The duality of theatre fans. I will see you again soon. I don't know what my outro is anymore, because this feels a bit... Bye.